Okay, I will briefly talk about some DRR issues, mainly two topics. On one side, activities in Bolivia, and on the other side, activities of the DRR network. So, in Bolivia, we have a DRR program, which is in its third phase. It started last year, and it will last until 2014. And the interesting aspect is that we look at climate change from a DRR angle, whereas, for instance, the PAC is looking at climate change from a well, let's say DRR from a climate change angle. And it's also an opportunity where we often exchange information between the two programs. So on one side, we integrate climate change adaptation in planning processes at local level, working with municipalities. That's one component. The second component is more focusing on the productive sector, agriculture sector, where there is a lot of traditional knowledge available in the hands on climate change adaptation. So our work is to revalorize this knowledge and to share it, to expand it. Then we have a third component, which is really focusing on mainstreaming DRR and climate change adaptation in all our programs in Bolivia. We have 8 programs, so the 7 programs except the DRR program. And the fourth component is more related to disaster management, which is, let's say, the core business of humanitarian aid. We are strengthening preparedness, response, and recovery capacities. The interesting thing in this DRR program, it's a joint program funded equally by regional cooperation and humanitarian aid. And I think that's quite unique within STC. And of course, we advocate that climate change is a development issue, that DRR is a development issue, so that in this sense we work on the same goal, which is poverty reduction, etc. Maybe briefly about the challenges that we face in Bolivia. You know that in Cancun, Bolivia was the only country that didn't sign the final agreement. So they always say Cancun -1, which is Bolivia. Well, let's say the political message is that the others have to work on climate change, mitigation, adaptation. We are a poor country, we cannot afford that. So this is a bit the context in which we move, and we take it up with the opportunity of the additional funds. We have 3 programs where we scale up on the existing program, so that's the DRR program. There is another program on natural resource management, or let's say territorial management, gestión territorial. And there is a third program more focusing on how do you say that? Insurance, agricultural insurance. So, and besides that, we are just now making an assessment on what could be possible topics. It goes in direction of glaciers, so I'm interested in the experience from Peru and from India. We also focus on water issues and food security. These are a bit the 3 topics that we would like to deepen. Okay, so now about the DRR network. I form part of the steering group of the, or steering committee of the network. That's why I take the right to talk about, although Franz is the focal point. So maybe briefly to update you on activities. We had an impact report which was published in February at the General Assembly of the UN in New York, which summarizes the experience of STC in DRR. It is available in English, and soon it will also be available in Spanish. Secondly, we had a training course in March this year in Nicaragua, where also several participants from the Climate Change Network participated. We talked about the new climate and DRR check, and also about the linkage between the two topics. Then, just 2 weeks ago, the global DRR platform took place in Geneva, which is the biggest gathering of all actors in disaster risk reduction. Obviously, climate change was also quite prominent in the agenda, and STC was present with a stand, and as a host country, we had a side event which was focusing on evaluations, and how evaluations regarding DRR, and how the conclusions of these evaluations get back into the programs. And this was done together with ALNAP, which is an institution with a lot of experience on that, and it was very interesting to see that mostly evaluations end with the evaluation, and you know, the next step is still weak. Then I would like to announce that soon we will have an e-discussion on gender and DRR, and I'm sure that climate change adaptation will also come in. And we will have our face-to-face meeting in September in Istanbul, where of course we also hope that there will be some participants of the Climate Change Network. Generally, to tell you that we had a first face-to-face meeting in Quat in 2009, and we formed coordination groups to tackle thematic issues. And there is one thematic group on mainstreaming climate change and DRR. It will be led by Naraya from June on, from the DRR side, and from climate change side it's Janine Kuriger. And let's say a joint product is the climate and DRR check that we got to know before. Then we have a Drupal platform, which is an interactive platform that allows forums, e-discussions, web meetings, etc. We will post the website later on. And for us, a bit questions that I would like to bring here is how about the future of the two networks, and all points that to a merger of the two networks. And I think this is really, it lays on the hand, but we have to see how this shall be. Proactive proposal is that one of the next face-to-face meetings could be a joint meeting between the two networks, be it in Switzerland, or be it a regional meeting, or be it somewhere else, but I think this would be very interesting.